Welcome. It's time to let go of all the burdens of today. Let your body be immersed in hospitality. Today, we will listen to the story of Buddha's teachings, letting go of jealousy to see your own value. Close your eyes. Breathe in deeply and breathe out slowly. Don't try to think. Just relax. Welcome to Lotus Whisper, your peaceful place in the quiet night. The night is a soft, deep blanket, inviting us to shed the heavy garments of our day. Feel the warmth of your covers, the perfect cradling support beneath you, and let the small, persistent anxieties of your waking hours begin to drift. Tonight, we speak of a very particular kind of suffering, one that often hides in plain sight, the pain of measuring your life against another's. This constant comparison, this subtle, gnawing sense of not enoughness, is what the ancient teachings called Issa, the shadow of jealousy. Jealousy is a curious prison. It is not built with real walls, but with mirrors that distort your reflection. It makes you believe that your light is somehow dimmer because someone else's is shining brightly. It whispers that your journey is less valuable because another seems more effortless. This evening, we will begin to dismantle these mirrors. We will sit with stories from the deep, quiet reservoirs of Buddhist and Zen wisdom, tales that offer a gentle path out of the trap of comparison and back into the simple, undeniable truth of your own worth. Your worth is not a prize to be won, nor a quantity to be measured. It is the very fabric of your being, unearned and unchanging. Close your eyes. Soften your jaw. Let the sound of my voice be a thread pulling you gently away from the edges of worry. The journey home to yourself is always the shortest and the most peaceful. Let the weight of your head sink into the pillow. Everything you need is already here. The mirror of comparison, a young monk's struggle. We settle deeper now into the story, allowing the cool, still atmosphere of an ancient monastery to envelop us. Imagine the quiet courtyard, the scent of burning incense just touched by the damp earth after a passing rain. In this serene setting lived a young monk named Kumara. The name meant prince, but his heart felt anything but regal. Kumara had come to the teachings with a vibrant enthusiasm and a deep, earnest wish for liberation. He was diligent in his chores, meticulous in his meditation, and his robes were always the neatest among the assembly. But there was a constant, tiny splinter of dissatisfaction lodged in his soul. The source of this discomfort was the sheer brilliance of the senior disciples. He would observe the elder Sariputta, whose wisdom was said to be second only to the Buddha's own. Sariputta's eyes held a placid, deep understanding. His explanations of the Dharma were like crystal clear water, satisfying and utterly pure. When Sariputta spoke, the other monks would lean forward, their faces illuminated by his insight. And then there was the elder Mahamoggallana, whose spiritual powers were legendary. He could traverse great distances. His mind was a beacon of deep concentration, and his presence alone seemed to calm the most turbulent minds. Kumara would watch them during their silent alms round, their bowls held with such quiet dignity, and a cold wave of discouragement would wash over him. Look at their virtue, the voice of comparison whispered fiercely in his mind. Their robes fit their shoulders with the weight of accomplishment. My robes, Kumara would reflect, looking down at his own perfectly folded saffron cloth, only carry the weight of my effort, and even that is so clumsy. He began to subtly warp his practice. Instead of simply meditating for stillness, he meditated to catch up. He tried to mimic Sariputta's deep, steady gaze, holding it until his eyes watered and his neck grew stiff. He would force his mind into unnatural states of concentration, striving for the dramatic, powerful moments he imagined Moggallana experienced. But the harder he tried to be them, the more his true self, the quiet, diligent Kumara, slipped away. His breath became shallow, his shoulders hunched with the invisible burden of rivalry. The simple joy of sweeping the courtyard, the pleasure of the deep, slow rhythm of the broom across the stone, was gone. Now, sweeping was a race against the imaginary perfection of Sariputta's past sweeping. Jealousy is always a refusal to recognize the inherent value of the present moment, of the present self. It is a belief that fulfillment is located somewhere else, in another's achievement, in another's gift, in another's light. This belief keeps us perpetually running, never arriving. One morning, the Buddha was speaking to the assembly about the different kinds of trees in a forest. "Bhikkhus," the Blessed One said, his voice a low, resonant bell that seemed to vibrate with perfect peace. "Look at the forest. Do all the trees bear the same fruit? Do they all reach the same height? Does the great Bodhi tree, with its massive, sprawling root system and broad canopy, look down with scorn upon the delicate bamboo, which is hollow and bends easily in the wind?" The monks were silent, absorbing the simple truth. "The Bodhi tree is mighty in its shelter," the Buddha continued, "but the bamboo is mighty in its flexibility. The great mango tree offers a massive, sweet harvest, but the tiny jasmine bush offers a scent that perfumes the darkness. Who is to say which is superior? Each fulfills its own unique nature." Kumara heard these words, but the internal whisper of comparison was still too loud. "Yes, but Sariputta is the Bodhi tree, and I am merely a common weed at his foot," his mind insisted. The weed, of course, must struggle all the harder to prove it belongs. He resolved to ask the Buddha a question he hoped would validate his struggle. He waited until the Buddha had retired for the evening, then approached the quiet dwelling. "Venerable Sir," Kumara began, bowing low, his voice barely a breath. "I see the greatness of our elders. I see their quick understanding, their profound wisdom, their mighty spiritual power. I try, truly I try, to match their pace, but I am slow. My mind is often dull. Am I not suited for this path? Should I not give up, since I can never be like them?" The Buddha did not open his eyes immediately. He simply sat completely still, like the deep center of the earth. When he finally spoke, his voice was tender but penetrating. "Kumara," he said, using the monk's name, pulling him gently back into his own being. "You say you are slow. Did the great river that feeds the fertile plains flow at the same speed when it was merely a small stream in the mountain?" "No, Venerable Sir." "And when a skillful potter shapes a perfect vessel," the Buddha continued, "does he judge the clay when it is merely a lump on the wheel? Or does he wait patiently until the moment it is fired and complete?" "He waits, Blessed One." "Then why," the Buddha asked, tilting his head just slightly, "do you, Kumara, try to judge yourself against the finished perfection of a venerable elder, a vessel that has endured many lifetimes of firing? Why do you insist on comparing the seed you are now with the full-grown fruit that is Sariputta? The truth was so simple, so gentle, that Kumara felt the tight knot in his chest loosen for the first time in months. The Buddha was not dismissing his effort. He was dismissing the comparison. The path to awakening is not a race, Kumara, the Buddha whispered, his voice soothing like the evening breeze through the temple eaves. It is a singular unfolding. The purpose of your existence is not to become Sariputta, nor Moggallana. Their light is beautiful, but their light is not your duty. Your duty is simply to tend to your own garden, to remove the weeds of envy and doubt, and to let your own unique flower unfold at its own perfect pace. He paused, allowing the silence to deepen, allowing Kumara to truly feel the weight of that relief. The great flaw of jealousy, Kumara, is that it blinds you to your own gifts. You are so busy looking at the reflection of another's life that you fail to see the quiet, steady devotion of your own. Your diligence in your simple tasks, your kindness to the younger monks, the purity of your intention, these are your unique soil, your unique water. They are your wealth. Kumara knelt in the quiet darkness. He finally understood. Jealousy was a thief. It stole the simple, present-moment joy and replaced it with a frantic, future-focused striving. It made him ignore the good that was already present in his life and his practice. The Buddha offered a final, profound piece of advice that night. Words that can guide us now as we seek deeper rest. Go back to your cushion, Kumara. Do not meditate to be like Sariputta. Meditate simply to be Kumara. When you sweep the path, sweep. Not to prove your worth, but to cherish the act of sweeping itself. The moment you cease trying to measure yourself, you will begin quite naturally to fully realize yourself. As Kumara retreated to the quiet comfort of his hut, he felt the heavy coat of comparison slip from his shoulders. His mind, still tired, was no longer tormented. The world was suddenly full of simple, undeniable value. The cool feel of the earth under his feet, the sound of a distant cricket, the quiet, steady rhythm of his own breath, a rhythm that belonged only to him. This is the gentle lesson for us now. Your journey is yours alone. Your path has its own unique texture and pace. Let the brilliance of others be a cause for mudita, sympathetic joy, not a measure of your own lack. You are here, in this moment, exactly as you should be. You have immense, inherent value that no comparison can diminish. Feel this truth settle deep into your bones. Let your breathing become softer, slower, a gentle, continuous sigh of release. We are letting go of the need to measure and prove. We are simply resting in the truth of being. Sleep is coming now, born on the quiet confidence of your own worth. Remember to subscribe to the Lotus Whisper channel for more stories to guide you into peaceful sleep. The poisoned arrow of envy. We continue our gentle drift into stillness, carried by the profound silence that follows genuine understanding. Allow the images of the quiet monastery to fade, replaced only by the darkness behind your closed eyes and the steady, rhythmic flow of your breath. Feel the deep sense of release in your muscles, the slow, downward pull of gravity that is holding and supporting you. Tonight, we turn our attention to one of the most famous and potent analogies offered by the Buddha, the parable of the poisoned arrow. We will expand this teaching to understand how the venom of jealousy and comparison operates, not as a source of strength, but as a fatal distraction from the essential task of healing and living. Imagine a man walking through a forest, perhaps lost in the deep undergrowth, far from any path. Suddenly, a terrible, stinging pain tears through his side. An arrow, tipped with deadly poison, has struck him. His friends rush to him, ready to help, ready to pull the shaft out, to staunch the blood, and to apply the necessary antidote. But the wounded man does not allow them to touch him. "Wait!" he cries out in agony, yet clinging to his intellectual curiosity. "I will not allow you to pull this arrow out until I know precisely who shot it. Was he a Brahmin, a Kshatriya, a Vaishya, or a Sudra? What was the name of his family? Was he tall or short? Was his skin dark or fair? What was the wood of the bow? Was the bowstring made of hemp or silk? Was the feather on the arrow a vulture's feather, a peacock's feather, or a simple chicken's feather? I must know the exact length and shape of the arrowhead." His friends, desperate and frantic, plead with him. "My dear friend, this arrow is tipped with a fast-acting poison. If you delay even for a moment, you will surely die." All these questions you ask, they have nothing to do with saving your life. Let us simply pull the arrow out. But the wounded man, driven by his stubborn need for analysis, for context, for comparison, refuses. He wants to understand the cause before he accepts the cure. He dies, not because the wound was immediately fatal, but because his mind was hopelessly entangled in irrelevant, unanswerable questions. This parable is the perfect mirror for the suffering of jealousy. The suffering is the wound, and the questions we ask about others' lives are the poisoned arrow. When jealousy strikes, what are the questions we ask? We do not ask, "How can I tend to my own unique journey?" We ask, "Why did she get that promotion and not me? What deep connections did he use to find that peace? Why is their life flowering while mine is still in bud?" We are asking about the shooter, the identity of the successful person, the materials of their bow, their background, their luck, their circumstances, and the exact composition of the arrow, their specific talent or advantage. We are obsessed with the external data of their success. And while we are consumed by this irrelevant investigation, who is the shooter, the poison of the arrow continues to spread. That poison is the feeling of not-enoughness, the erosion of our own self-worth, and the complete paralysis of our forward movement. The essential point of the Buddha's teaching is this: suffering exists, and there is a way to end it. It does not matter why the arrow was shot. It only matters that it is in you. The task is to pull it out. Jealousy makes us think that knowing the details of another person's advantage will somehow diminish their success, or conversely, explain away our own lack of it. We feel that if we can just categorize their brilliance, if we can reduce it to luck or connection or background, then our own value is protected. This is the mind's elaborate defense mechanism, a truly tragic distraction. In the quiet practice of the Dharma, the pulling out of the arrow is the practice of simply resting in the present moment, accepting things as they are, and turning all our energy back to our own internal work. If you find yourself comparing your life to the seemingly effortless success of a colleague, a neighbor, or a friend, your mind is demanding, who shot the arrow? It wants to know their secret, their advantage. But the wisdom of the path whispers back, it does not matter. Their success, their peace, their abundance, it is the reality of their moment. Your pain, your frustration, your sense of lack, that is the reality of your moment. The only thing that matters is the action you take now to relieve your own suffering. The act of pulling out the arrow of comparison is to consciously and deliberately shift your focus. It means acknowledging the flicker of envy. Ah, there is the feeling of wishing I had what they have. And then gently, yet firmly, redirecting that attention back to your breath, back to the physical sensation of your body on the bed, back to the immediate, simple task before you, which is resting. This shift is healing because it restores your energy. When you are jealous, you are lending your precious, limited energy to the scrutiny of another person's life, an act that gives you nothing in return but increasing bitterness. When you stop looking, that energy is instantly returned to you. It becomes the energy you need to breathe deeply, to relax completely, to sleep peacefully. The poisoned arrow of envy is an invitation to forget your own path. It makes you yearn for a destination that is not yours to reach, and a landscape that is not yours to cultivate. Think now of the person you have most recently compared yourself to. Allow the image of their perceived success to enter your mind, and with it, the familiar, tight feeling of comparison. Now, gently label that feeling. Arrow. Now, imagine yourself taking hold of the shaft, not to examine it, but simply to pull it out. With the next exhale, let the arrow slide out completely. It is a metaphorical, gentle operation. As the arrow leaves, the intensity of the pain, the urgency of the comparison, begins to diminish. You are no longer concerned with the shooter or the bow. You are simply healing. The healing begins with a profound acceptance. I am here. This is my life. These are my circumstances. I do not need to be informed about the circumstances of others to find peace. My only concern is the purity of my own heart and the stillness of my own mind. As you lie here, fully supported and safe, let this analogy sink into your deepest understanding. Every time your mind drifts to a comparison, imagine the arrow entering your side. Do not analyze it. Do not admire the fletching or the metal tip. Simply, gently, with the next deep, slow breath, pull it out and set it aside. Your life is a precious, singular thing. Do not spend the minutes of your existence, which are meant for joy and rest, lost in the futile, deadly game of asking questions about someone else's arrow. Your time is now. Your path is here. Your worth is absolute. Let the deepest peace of non-comparison wash over you. The forest is quiet now. The wound is clean, and your entire being is beginning to rest, freed from the poison of wanting to be something or someone else. In this healing silence, let the weight of your eyelids feel heavy. Let your breath deepen into a slow, sustained rhythm. You are safe. You are enough. You are simply you. We let go. We heal. We rest. Remember to subscribe to the Lotus Whisper channel for more stories to guide you into peaceful sleep. The sound of one's own bell. The stillness deepens now, and the gentle wisdom of the East guides us further toward profound relaxation. We move from the urgency of the poisoned arrow to the quiet acoustics of a mountain sanctuary, allowing the gentle imagery to soothe your nerves and quiet your thoughts. Let your hands and feet become heavy. sinking softly into the mattress. Tonight's story takes us high into the mist-shrouded hills of ancient Japan, to a small, secluded Zen temple known as Kannon-ji, the Temple of Compassionate Sound. Here lived a master named Ryokan, whose life was one of utter simplicity, and his young student Kenji. Kenji was a promising monk. He had a natural aptitude for calligraphy. His movements during the tea ceremony were precise and graceful, and he was fiercely dedicated to meditation. But his concentration was often fractured by the distant, clear sound of a large bell. Ryokan's temple was modest. They had a small, iron bell, used mainly to mark the hours of practice. But a few valleys over, perched on a dominant peak, stood the magnificent temple of Daifuku-ji, the Temple of Great Fortune. Daifuku-ji was wealthy and famous, and their bell was legendary. It was forged of bronze and silver, massive in size, and when the senior monk struck it in the evenings, the sound was deep, resounding, and carried for miles, filling the whole valley with a rich, magnificent tone. Kenji could not help but compare. During his silent zazen meditation, his mind would latch on to the distant, powerful boom of the Daifuku-ji bell. He would wait for it, counting the seconds, and when it came, a low, humming vibration that seemed to fill the air with importance, he would involuntarily sigh. Then, when it was time for him to ring the small, iron bell of Kannon-ji, the contrast was painfully clear. His bell produced a sharp, sweet but short note, a silver chime, compared to the golden thunder of Daifuku-ji. The comparison bred a subtle form of jealousy. Kenji began to resent his own bell. He would hit it harder, hoping to force it to produce a deeper sound. He would polish it endlessly, thinking that surface shine might somehow enhance its resonance. He would feel a surge of inadequacy, thinking, "My practice, like my bell, is too small, too thin, too quick to fade." The Daifuku-ji monk's practice, like his bell, is grand, powerful, and lasting. This constant comparison became his personal koan, a knot of suffering he could not untie. He started to spend his meditation time composing complex, self-pitying arguments in his head about why his practice felt lesser. His peace was stolen by a sound that wasn't even his. One evening, unable to bear the weight of his own resentment, Kenji went to Master Ryokan. The master was sitting by the open veranda, sipping quiet tea. The Daifuku-ji bell had just finished its majestic tolling. "Master," Kenji began, bowing low, his voice heavy with self-judgment, "I must confess my mind is troubled. I cannot find peace because I cannot stop comparing. Their bell," he gestured vaguely toward the distant peak, "is so vast, so rich. It resonates with a deep, authoritative voice. Our bell, it is merely a tiny echo. Is our temple's practice diminished because we lack that magnitude? Is my effort worthless if it does not produce that profound, far-reaching sound?" Master Ryokan placed his teacup down with the softest click, a sound that in the sudden silence seemed immense. He looked at Kenji with eyes that were ancient and infinitely kind. "Kenji," the master said, his voice a dry, gentle rustle, "go now. Bring me our bell." Kenji carefully carried the small iron bell, heavy and cool to the touch, and placed it before the master. Ryokan did not strike it. He simply reached out and gently ran his fingers over the pitted, dark iron surface. "Tell me, Kenji," the master asked, "do you truly believe that the great bronze bell of Daifuku-ji, could produce this same sound. No, master, Kenji replied, surprised by the question. Their bell is too thick, too heavy. Its sound is born of mass and gravity. It is the sound of thunder. And what is the sound of our bell, Kenji? Listen closely now, not with your ears, but with your deepest, resting heart. The master took the small wooden striker and tapped the bell with a feather-light touch. Ching. The sound was sweet, high, crystalline, and it hung in the air like a single perfect dewdrop before gracefully dissolving into the silent night. Our bell, Ryokan whispered, is the sound of a mountain stream over smooth stones. It is the sound of silver moonlight on the snow. It is the sound of a simple, clear moment. He lifted the bell, cradling it in his lap. Kenji, the bell of Daifukuji is beautiful in its strength. But if we tried to make our bell sound like theirs, we would have to melt it down, adding base metals to the iron. And then it would be neither a great bronze bell nor a clear iron bell. It would be a clumsy, broken thing that makes only a hollow rattle. The master's lesson was simple, yet utterly transformative. He continued, his voice softer still, pulling Kenji deeper into the truth. The great flaw of comparison is that it attempts to force two fundamentally different objects to fit the same mold. You are Kenji. Your nature is not Sariputa's, nor Moggallana's, nor the monk of Daifukuji. You are the sound of the clear, sweet iron bell. Your value, your practice, your unique path to awakening, it is born of your own unique metal. Your quiet diligence, your graceful calligraphy, the subtle, deep focus of your simple meditation, that is your resonance. It may not boom across the entire valley, but it can reach the deepest, most necessary places in a single heart. It can reach your own heart. Kenji felt a flood of warmth and profound relief. He realized that his struggle was not with the bell of Daifukuji, but with his own stubborn refusal to accept the perfection of his small, sweet sound. He had wasted weeks trying to be a great, loud thunder, when he was born to be the clear, crystalline ching of moonlight. The master placed the bell back down. Go now, Kenji. Ring the bell tonight, not as a competition with the valley, but as an offering to the simple silence that embraces us all. Let the sound be exactly what it is. And when you sit, simply be the sound of Kenji. As you lie there perfectly still, let this ancient wisdom settle within you. What is the sound of your own bell? What is your unique metal? Perhaps you are not the grand public thunder of the great bronze bell. Perhaps you are the sustained, steady warmth of a candle flame. Perhaps you are the deep, quiet root system of a tree. Perhaps you are the soft, steady strength of the river that flows unseen beneath the surface. Jealousy is the voice that insists you must be the bronze when you are the perfect, clear iron. It asks you to destroy your true nature to mimic another's. But your unique value, the reason you are needed in the world, is found only in your unique quality. The world does not need two Sariputas. The world needs the singular, beautiful vibration of you. Allow your entire body to become still, a quiet temple in the night. Let go of the need to resonate on someone else's frequency. Let go of the anxiety of comparing size, loudness, or reach. Your resonance is perfect for your path. Now, with a deep, gentle inhale, breathe in acceptance. With a slow, peaceful exhale, let go of comparison. Feel the peace of the quiet stream, the stillness of the moonlight. You're the sound of your own being, and that sound is sacred. Rest in its deep, gentle comfort. Remember to subscribe to the Lotus Whisper channel for more stories to guide you into peaceful sleep. Part 4. Cultivating Mudita, the joy of others. We drift now into a space of even greater softness and ease. Your body is heavy and relaxed, sinking effortlessly into the support beneath you. Release the last lingering tension from your shoulders, your arms, your hands. Tonight we turn our gaze away from our own struggles and toward the success and happiness of others, but not with a critical comparing eye. Instead, we learn to greet it with a profound and healing warmth. This is the practice of mudita, often translated as sympathetic joy or appreciative joy. It is one of the 4 Brahma Viharas, the sublime attitudes, and it is the direct antidote to the poison of jealousy. Jealousy is the pain we feel when good fortune comes to another. Mudita is the joy we feel when good fortune comes to another. The circumstances are identical. A good thing has happened to someone else, but the internal response is radically different. The path of mudita teaches us that the universe is vast enough for everyone's light to shine without diminishing our own. When another succeeds, it is not a subtraction from your life. It is an addition to the total beauty and potential of the world. Imagine for a moment the great garden of the Buddha's time. It was a garden filled with many kinds of flowers. The tall, stately rose, the humble, fragrant jasmine, the fierce, thorny thistle, and the majestic lotus. The Buddha often taught his disciples about the nature of these flowers. There was a disciple, perhaps even Kumara from our earlier story, who struggled greatly when he saw the effortless mastery of others. He felt the cold clutch of envy whenever another monk reached a deeper state of meditation, or when a lay follower offered their best gifts to another community. The Buddha noticed this young monk's tightness and invited him to walk through a lush, vibrant field of various blossoms. "Look here, Bhikkhu," the Blessed One said, pointing to a towering tree whose branches were heavy with ripe golden mangoes. "Do you see how perfect and abundant the fruit is?" "I do, venerable sir. They are magnificent. And does the sight of these delicious mangoes make the nearby small berries on the bush become less sweet? Does the presence of this great, heavy-laden tree cause the rose bush to cease its own flowering?" "No, Blessed One," the monk replied. "Each is as it is, entirely unaffected by the other." Precisely so. The happiness and success of another person is like that mango tree. It is their ripening. It is their harvest. And just as the mango tree does not take light or nourishment from the rose bush, the success of your brother monk does not take an ounce of wisdom or peace from your own practice. The Buddha explained that when we look upon the success of another with jealousy, we are doing something deeply irrational. We are adding suffering to a situation that is already a cause for happiness. We are refusing to enjoy a good thing because it did not come to us directly. This is like refusing to enjoy the warmth of the sun because you did not create the sun yourself. It is the height of ego clinging, the mind insisting that joy must be exclusive, belonging only to the I. Mudita is the path out of this small-minded suffering. It is a radical expansion of the heart that says, "I rejoice, a good thing has happened, and though it is not mine, I will celebrate it as if it were." To cultivate mudita, we must practice a deliberate internal cheer. When you hear of someone's achievement or witness their talent, your mind's first knee-jerk reaction might be, "Why not me?" The practice is to gently, softly interrupt that question and replace it with, How wonderful! May their joy continue and increase. In the early Sangha, there was a monk, often praised for his meticulous knowledge of the texts. He started to feel a competitive tightness toward another monk who was praised for his gentle, calming presence during the hours of silent instruction. The textual scholar felt his own hard-won knowledge was somehow being devalued by the other's mere kindness. The Buddha observed this silent rivalry. He called both monks together. To the scholar, he said, "Your clarity is like the perfect, strong scaffolding of a magnificent building. It holds the structure firm and true. You should be proud of the effort it took to build such a framework." Then, to the kind monk, he said, "Your compassion is the warmth and light within that building. It is the air that makes the space habitable and peaceful. You should be proud of the heart it took to create such a sanctuary." He looked at the scholar. "Do you think the scaffolding is useless without the light? Do you think the light is safe without the scaffolding? You are both essential expressions of the Dharma. When your brother lights the room with his kindness, you should feel joy, for it is your strong structure that protects his gentle flame. When you provide clear structure, he should feel joy, for it means the light of his compassion is safe." The Buddha demonstrated that every single virtue, every talent, every success contributes to the whole. If your friend writes a beautiful poem, the beauty of that poem is now a part of the world you inhabit. If your neighbor finds peace, the ripple of that peace makes your own environment calmer. Their light actually illuminates your way. Mudita is not about forcing a feeling. It is about recognizing a simple truth. It is the truth that abundance is shared, not divided. As you lie here, fully surrendered to the coming sleep, gently bring to mind someone in your life whose success or happiness has been difficult for you to fully celebrate. Do not judge the difficulty. Simply notice the tightness, the small contraction in your chest or stomach. Now, breathe gently into that contraction and repeat this quiet, soothing mantra. May their happiness endure. May their success deepen. May their freedom increase. I take joy in their joy. Breathe in the calm awareness of your own unique path. Breathe out the need to possess the success of others. When you truly celebrate their light, you realize that your own is in no danger of being extinguished. In fact, by acknowledging the beauty outside of you, you create the space to fully accept the beauty within you. You are not defined by what you lack, but by the quiet, radiant wealth of what you are. Rest now in this expansive, compassionate joy. Let the peace of shared abundance settle deeply into your heart. Sleep now, with a heart open to the joy of all beings, including your own peaceful self. Remember to subscribe to the Lotus Whisper channel for more stories to guide you into peaceful sleep. The empty boat and the calm mind. We enter now the deepest waters of tranquility. Your body is heavy, your breath is slow, and your mind is ready to receive the simplest, most profound truths. Let the image of a vast, calm lake settle behind your eyes. This lake is your consciousness, undisturbed and perfectly reflective. Tonight, we sit with a classic Zen tale, the story of the empty boat. It is a simple story, yet it contains the complete teaching on how to dissolve the habit of comparison and the sting of jealousy, which are always dependent on the presence of a judgmental self. Imagine a Zen master, known for his deep serenity and quiet humor, who lived alone in a small hut near a wide, still river. The master loved to meditate daily, often floating gently in his small wooden boat far from the shore, enjoying the complete silence of the water and the sky. One afternoon, lost in a deep state of concentration, the master's boat was suddenly struck hard by another vessel. The impact jolted him out of his peaceful state. An immediate surge of anger flashed through him. How dare this clumsy person interrupt my practice, he thought, his heart pounding with irritation. He prepared to shout at the other boatmen, ready to unleash a torrent of justified frustration. But just as he opened his mouth to call out, he looked up. The boat that had struck his was completely empty. It had simply come loose from the bank upstream and was drifting lazily down the river, guided only by the slow current. There was no one at the tiller, no one to blame, no intentional fault. It was just a boat drifting. The Zen master paused. He looked at the emptiness of the vessel, and then he looked inward at the sudden violent storm of anger he had just manufactured in his own mind. A profound realization washed over him, a truth so simple it felt like the entire universe had just opened up. He burst out laughing. It wasn't a loud, harsh laugh, but a soft, deep sound of recognition. He realized that his anger, his frustration, and his desire to lash out only existed because he perceived a culprit. If there was a deliberate other who had intended the collision, then his fury felt justified, a necessary defense of his violated peace. But with no other, no conscious driver, his anger became absurd, baseless. It was simply a turbulence created by his own mind reacting to an impersonal event. From that day forward, the master adopted this simple wisdom into all areas of his life. Whenever he encountered a difficulty, an obstacle, or an offense, whether a harsh word from a student, an irritating noise, or a moment of failure, he would silently remind himself, "The other boat is empty." This is where the wisdom of the empty boat becomes the perfect antidote to jealousy. Jealousy is always a collision of the ego. It is the feeling that your success or your worth has been deliberately diminished by the success or worth of another. It requires a culprit, the successful person, and a victim, the comparing self, to exist. When you look at the successful person, the one who seems to possess the talent, the wealth, or the peace you crave, you are seeing a full boat. You project a driver into that vessel. They are driven by ambition. They are driven by luck. They are driven by skill. They are deliberately succeeding where I am failing. You see their movement as an intentional slight against your own quiet stillness. But the teaching of the empty boat invites you to recognize a deeper truth. The person you are jealous of is also an empty boat. Their life, like yours, is ultimately empty of a fixed, permanent, judgmental self. Their success, their talent, their luck, all these things are simply the results of a stream of causes and conditions. Their previous efforts, the support of their parents, the current of economic opportunity, the wind of fate. No one owns their success. No one is their success. It simply is. When you realize that the other is an empty boat, not a deliberate adversary, not a permanent, solid entity of success, but a collection of forces and conditions drifting down the river of life, your collision with them ceases to create anger or jealousy. How can you be jealous of a boat that is simply floating? How can you feel diminished by a collection of causes and conditions that are impersonally unfolding? Jealousy, requires a solid, enduring self that is constantly measuring, judging, and feeling slighted. By applying the empty boat wisdom, you dissolve that self. Try this gentle practice now. Bring to mind one last time the person whose life sometimes triggers a feeling of envy in you. See their image clearly. And then, gently, release the idea that they are a fixed, solid being of permanent achievement. See them instead as a vessel. Their strength is the wood of their body. Their success is the wind in their sail. Their talent is the current beneath them. There is no enduring, malicious captain at the helm, deliberately sailing past you to make you feel small. They are just floating. And you are just floating. When you remove the driver, the perceived intentionality, the resentment dissolves. The collision becomes merely a bump, a passing event on the river. You no longer need to shout, to blame, or to compare. You can simply return to your own deep, still meditation. The true self-worth you seek is not something to be acquired by comparing yourself favorably to a full boat. It is simply realized the moment you recognize that your own boat is also empty. It is just a temporary vessel, guided by breath and intention, and it does not need to carry the heavy cargo of comparison. Allow your mind to become completely still, completely non-judgmental. Embrace the quiet emptiness of your own experience. Let the river carry you gently towards sleep. You are not your success. You are not your failures. You are the stillness upon which both the boat and the river rest. Rest now, freed from the imagined struggle. The river is peaceful, and all the boats are empty. Remember to subscribe to the Lotus Whisper channel for more stories to guide you into peaceful sleep. The weaver's thread, recognizing your pattern. The water of the river is calm, and the empty boat drifts silently away, leaving you in a state of profound peace. Allow the final weight of your eyelids to relax completely. We turn now from the river to the loom, from the stillness of water to the gentle rhythmic artistry of creation itself. Tonight, we consider a quiet, beautiful metaphor often used in the ancient teachings, the metaphor of the great tapestry of life. Imagine the world as not a scattered collection of individuals, but one vast, intricate tapestry being woven continuously by the hands of time and fate. This tapestry contains everything that exists, mountains and oceans, stars and soil, and every single human being, past, present, and future. In this tapestry, every person is a single distinct thread. Look closely at the threads. One thread might be a brilliant royal gold, gleaming and thick, woven into a bold central design. This is the thread of the great leader, the famous artist, the celebrated saint. Another thread might be a deep, quiet forest green, strong and resilient, woven into the foundational fabric that holds the entire pattern together. This is the thread of the dedicated teacher, the selfless parent, the patient healer. Still another might be a delicate, nearly invisible silver, woven into the intricate background details, providing the subtle shimmer and texture that makes the bolder colors stand out. This is the thread of the quiet supporter, the thoughtful friend, the diligent apprentice. Jealousy, at its core, is the delusion that your thread must be the gold thread. It is the suffering that arises when the quiet green thread looks across the pattern and says, "My life is useless. I must be gold, or I have no value." It is the failure of the silver thread to recognize that without its subtle presence, the entire tapestry would lose its depth and richness. The true work of wisdom is not to re-dye your thread, to turn green into gold, but to recognize, honor, and weave with the unique color and texture you already possess. Consider the weaver, the master artisan of this great tapestry. The weaver never judges the thread. The weaver knows that the green thread has a strength and a density that the gold thread simply lacks. If you try to weave the delicate gold into the foundation, it will tear. If you try to use the thick green for the subtle shimmer, the tapestry will be crude and heavy. Every thread is essential precisely because of its difference. The beauty of the final work depends entirely on the harmonious contrast, the perfect interplay of all the unique colors and textures. When you allow jealousy to take hold, you are essentially pulling at your own thread, trying to force it into a design or a position that is not meant for it. You strain against the very pattern that defines you. You begin to fray. You lose your necessary strength. And in trying to become the gold thread, you stop fulfilling the vital foundational role of the green thread that holds the entire structure in place. This teaching is about radical self-acceptance, about understanding your own purpose within the greater whole. A Zen story speaks of a humble monk who was tasked with dyeing the robes of the community. He was not a gifted speaker, nor a powerful meditator, and his duties were often seen as menial. He constantly looked with envy at the elder monks, who lectured to the crowds, their voices ringing with authority. One day the monk was dyeing a great bolt of cloth, a specific deep shade of ochre. He wrestled with the dye, trying to get the color perfectly rich and uniform. He felt overwhelmed by the endless, repetitive work, convinced his talent lay elsewhere. He went to the master. "Master," he confessed, "I envy the speakers. Their words travel far and wide. My dye simply soaks into a single piece of cloth. My life feels so confined, so small." The master took a piece of the perfectly dyed ochre cloth and draped it over his arm. The color was magnificent, deep, earthy, and warm. "Look at this, my son," the master said, gently rubbing the cloth. The power of the lecturer's words fades in the ears of the listeners, often before they reach their sleeping mat. But this dye remains. It endures heat, water, and sun. It is a quiet, constant presence. This color clothes and protects the minds and bodies of everyone in this community, day after day, year after year. The master looked deeply into the monk's eyes. The speaker's thread is loud, but short. Your thread, the thread of the dyer, is quiet, but enduring. If you had tried to speak, you would have failed. But in this quiet work, you have created something of absolute, necessary constancy. You have created the backdrop for all spiritual life here. The monk realized his jealousy had made him blind to the profound virtue of his own labor. His value wasn't in the reach of his work, but in its depth and constancy. He was the essential, enduring green thread. As you prepare for sleep, release the notion that you must have a high-profile, brilliant color to matter. You are a crucial, perfectly colored thread in the great tapestry. Do not allow the constant, gentle weaving of your life to be interrupted by the struggle to become something you are not. Rest in the knowledge that your unique color, your inherent kindness, your quiet resilience, your unique way of seeing the world, is precisely what the tapestry of life requires of you in this moment. Feel the heavy, restful weight of your being, perfectly placed and perfectly colored. Breathe in the rich color of your own authentic life. Breathe out the struggle to change your fundamental nature. You are the perfect thread, exactly where you are needed. Let this acceptance lead you into the deepest peace. Remember to subscribe to the Lotus Whisper channel for more stories to guide you into peaceful sleep. Part 7. The Non-Self and the Unwavering Core. We move now into a deeper layer of stillness, the profound core of Buddhist wisdom known as anatta, or the doctrine of non-self. This is the key that unlocks the door of comparison forever. Allow your body to sink fully into the comfort of your bed. Let your breath become the softest, slowest thing in the room. Jealousy is a feeling that requires a fixed, solid, suffering self. It is the feeling of I, the permanent self, lack what they, the permanent other, possess. It is a clinging to an idea of who you are supposed to be. The teaching of non-self invites us to look for this I, and when we look, we find that the I we are so desperately trying to protect and compare is, in fact, an illusion, a convenient label, a composite of ever-changing parts. Where is this permanent self that feels diminished? Is it in your body, which changes every minute? Is it in your feelings, which rise and fall like the tide? Is it in your perceptions, which are constantly being updated? Is it in your thoughts, which are utterly transient? Or is it in your consciousness, which shifts focus from one moment to the next? The Buddha taught that none of these changing parts is the permanent, solid self. When you cling to them as me or mine, you create the foundation for all suffering, including jealousy. Consider a beautiful, intricately carved wooden cup. When we look at it, we say, "This is a beautiful cup." But is the cup the wood? No, the wood was once a tree. Is the cup the shape? No, the shape changes if the cup breaks. Is the cup the emptiness inside? No, the emptiness is just space. The cup is merely a name given to a temporary arrangement of wood, space, and a certain intention. If a wealthier person appears with an equally beautiful, perhaps gold-plated cup, the jealous part of your mind cries out, "My wooden cup is less valuable. I am less valuable because my cup is not gold." But the wisdom of anatta asks, who is this I who owns the cup and feels diminished? If the wooden cup is just a collection of impermanent parts, so too is the gold cup, and so too is the person holding it. And most importantly, so too are you. When you truly look for the permanent, solid core of your being, the one who is jealous, you find only a quiet, open space, a state of pure awareness. This awareness is untouched by the changing fortunes of your life or the glittering successes of others. It is the unwavering core. A wonderful Zen story illustrates this deeply. There was a monk named Tokusan, a great scholar who was fiercely proud of his knowledge of the Diamond Sutra. He traveled far and wide, debating other monks, always intent on proving that his understanding was superior. This pride and need to be right was merely a sophisticated form of spiritual jealousy. He compared his intellectual depth to everyone else's and always found himself wanting to be more. One day, Tokusan was passing through a small village and felt hungry. He stopped at a small tea house. He asked the old woman running the shop for a snack to refresh himself before continuing his journey. The old woman looked at his large stack of scrolls containing his writings and commentaries on the Diamond Sutra. "Venerable Master," she asked gently, "I believe you are an authority on the Diamond Sutra." "Indeed," Tokusan replied proudly. "Then tell me, Master," the old woman said. "The sutra
says, the past mind cannot be held, the present mind cannot be held, and the future mind cannot be held. Since no mind can be held, which mind then were you intending to buy refreshment for?" Tokusan was utterly silenced. He, the great scholar, was exposed by a simple question from an old woman. His entire structure of spiritual pride, the solid self built on knowledge and comparison, collapsed. He realized his knowledge was just words, and the self he was trying to feed and prove was a phantom. When he tried to grasp the present mind that was feeling hungry or proud, it was already gone. There was no one to feel superior and no one to feel diminished. There was only the continuous, impersonal flow of experience. That moment was his true awakening. He let go of his voluminous scrolls, the heavy baggage of his intellectual self, and became a simple, quiet seeker. The jealousy of the scholar, The need to compare his wisdom vanished because the scholar, the permanent I, was nowhere to be found. As you lie in the quiet of the night, realize that the you who feels the stab of envy is just a temporary collection of thoughts and feelings. It is not the real, fundamental essence of your being. The real you is the deep, quiet awareness resting beneath the surface, the still, unwavering space that simply is. This awareness cannot be compared. It has no size, no color, no shape, and no achievements that can be measured against another's. It is whole, complete, and utterly perfect in its being. Jealousy is the voice of the illusionary self. Peace is the silent truth of the non-self. Let the illusion soften now. Let the comparison become meaningless. There is no enduring you that needs to be better, and there is no solid other that is truly superior. Just the peace, just the breath, just the deep, welcoming stillness of the night. You are perfect, whole, and resting in the profound truth of anatta. Remember to subscribe to the Lotus Whisper channel for more stories to guide you into peaceful sleep. Part 8. The Fire of Desire. Understanding the root. We drift even deeper now, toward the very roots of our suffering. Let the quiet truth of non-self settle gently in your heart, dissolving the need to compare. Your body is heavy, safe, and sinking. We move from the illusion of the self to the powerful, yet ephemeral nature of desire. Jealousy is not a primary emotion. It is a secondary fire, fueled by the deeper, more ancient wood of craving or tanha. This craving is the second of the Four Noble Truths, and it is the master key to understanding why comparison hurts so much. When you are jealous of a person's wealth, talent, or relationship, you are not truly focused on them. You are focused on the belief that you need what they have in order to be happy, whole, or valued. You are in essence craving their object of achievement. The Buddha taught that tanha manifests in three forms: the craving for sensory pleasure, the craving for existence, the desire to become or be, and the craving for non-existence, the desire to avoid or stop being. Jealousy beautifully intertwines the second and third. It is the craving to become the successful person, combined with the craving to avoid the state of being less than them. This creates a fire. The successful person becomes the fuel for your internal combustion. But the essence of the teaching is that tanha is always misplaced because it clings to things that are, by nature, impermanent or anicca. Imagine you are standing on a riverbank and you see someone downstream with a magnificent carved canoe, paddling with ease and grace. Your own boat is small and feels heavy. Jealousy flares. I must have that canoe. Only that canoe will bring me true freedom and speed. You focus all your energy on acquiring that magnificent canoe or one like it. You resent the owner. You spend your waking hours plotting, striving, and measuring your distance from that object. But the moment you finally obtain the canoe, two things happen immediately, according to the teaching on impermanence. First, the joy of ownership is immediately undermined by the fear of loss. You now worry about the canoe being damaged, stolen, or surpassed by an even better vessel. The object of desire becomes a source of new anxiety. Second, and more profoundly, the canoe itself is already changing. The wood is aging. The paint is fading. The river is constantly wearing down the hull. The moment you grasp the object of your craving, it begins its slow, irreversible journey toward decay and disappearance. The jealousy was rooted in the delusion that this object, this success, this talent, this canoe was a fixed, permanent source of worth. It is not. It is merely a temporary arrangement of matter and energy. When you see the impermanence of the object of your envy, the desire loses its grip. Why passionately strive for something that is already decaying? Why spend your precious life force chasing a phantom of permanence? A story from the early days of Zen illustrates the futility of chasing this permanence. A poor farmer in the village of Kyoto felt deep jealousy toward his neighbor, a merchant who had amassed great wealth and a beautiful, ornate house. The farmer would walk by the merchant's fence daily, his stomach tightening with envy. One day, the merchant's house caught fire. It was a massive, uncontrollable blaze. The merchant, who had been so proud of his possessions, stood weeping bitterly as his beautiful things, his silks, his scrolls, his carved furniture, turned to ash. The farmer, watching from the road, felt a strange, cold peace wash over him. His jealousy vanished. It was not a cruel joy, but a deep, sobering recognition. He realized that the very object of his craving, the house, the wealth, was no more solid than smoke. He had spent years of his life sacrificing his own peace and gratitude for something that could be taken by a single spark in a single afternoon. He went to the old abbot of the local temple and told him what he had seen. The abbot smiled, his eyes twinkling with ancient wisdom. "Ah, my son, the house was always burning. The merchant just didn't see the fire. He thought the house was permanent, and that was his mistake. You thought the house was permanent, and that was your suffering." The abbot continued, his voice soft as falling snow. "The beautiful garden of your neighbor is beautiful today, but tomorrow a frost may take the blossoms. Their great insight is great in this moment, but memory will fade it. Everything that arises, talent, wealth, beauty, even jealousy itself, will pass away. This is the truth of anicca. The deepest healing for jealousy is to apply the cool water of impermanence to the hot coal of craving. As you lie here, fully supported and safe, let your mind turn to whatever worldly success you crave most deeply. See it clearly. And now, gently wrap that image in the knowledge of its own inevitable passing. The beautiful face will wrinkle. The vast fortune will shift and scatter. The moment of glory will become a memory. This is not a judgment, but a simple, gentle fact of existence. When you see the object of your desire is already dissolving, the frantic energy of craving subsides. You no longer need to run after it or resent the person who temporarily holds it. You can simply rest in the quiet, unchanging awareness of your own breath. This deep breath, this perfect moment of rest, this awareness of now, this is the only true permanence you can rely upon. It is untouched by fire, unsullied by change, and entirely your own. Release the fire of desire. Embrace the cool water of impermanence. Let the profound stillness of the truth guide you into a deep, unshakable sleep. Remember to subscribe to the Lotus Whisper channel for more stories to guide you into peaceful sleep. The gift of nothing, true generosity. We are now resting in the awareness of impermanence, that gentle truth that loosens the grip of desire. Your mind is quiet, and the breath is a soft, deep current carrying you toward sleep. Release any remaining tension in your face, especially around your eyes and forehead. Let the weight of your whole self settle. Tonight, we reflect on the ultimate challenge to jealousy, the practice of true generosity, or dana. Jealousy insists that value is found in what we possess and what we compare. True generosity reveals that real value is found in what we give and what we are. The feeling of jealousy often stems from a sense of scarcity, the painful delusion that there is not enough goodness, talent, or wealth to go around. If someone else has it, then there is less for you. Dana shatters this illusion by making the act of giving itself the source of abundance. The most profound giving, the Buddhist teachings tell us, is not the giving of material possessions, but the giving of fearlessness, abhaya dana, and the giving of presence.
Consider the story of the Zen master Hakuin, a figure known for his fiery vitality and deep insight. One evening, a thief broke into his small remote hut. The thief searched everywhere but found nothing of value. Hakuin possessed only the bare necessities of a simple monk's life. Hakuin, who had been sitting in deep meditation, gently opened his eyes. He realized the thief was about to leave empty-handed, and he worried that the man would be discouraged, perhaps driven to even more desperate and dangerous acts. The master felt deep compassion for the thief's state of need. Hakuin called out softly, "Do not go away empty-handed. You have come all this way to visit me. Here, take this." Hakuin then took off the only thing he had of value, the simple robe he was wearing, and offered it to the startled thief. He offered it with complete sincerity, as a gift of the highest order. The thief was utterly confused. He snatched the robe and fled, leaving Hakuin sitting naked in the cool night air, gazing at the moon. The next morning, Hakuin heard a neighbor speaking about the moon. Hakuin looked out from his window, still meditating on the events of the night. He saw the beautiful, clear moon hanging in the empty sky, illuminating the world with a cool, steady light. A quiet joy filled his heart, and he wrote this poem. The thief left it behind. The moon at my window. What is the profound teaching here for the jealous heart? The master's worth was not in the robe, which he instantly gave away. His worth was in his capacity to give and his inner wealth, the peace and compassion that allowed him to see the moon's beauty even when stripped bare. Jealousy makes us obsess over the things that can be stolen, the robe, the fame, the money. When we see someone else possessing these things, we feel impoverished, but Hakuin shows us that the real treasure, the unstealable jewel, is the quietness of the mind, the purity of the heart, and the awareness that can appreciate the moon. This treasure is entirely your own. It cannot be compared because it is infinite. You can give your compassion away limitlessly, and you will not have less compassion. You will only have a deeper well of it. You can share your peace, and your own peace will only grow firmer. The thief who stole the robe gained a temporary piece of cloth. But Hakuin, the one who gave the robe, gained an immense expansion of his spirit and a moment of perfect, unassailable freedom. He gave away the visible so that he could fully possess the invisible. When you practice this form of giving, jealousy loses its logic. How can you be jealous of someone's possession when you have just discovered that the act of giving your own possessions, or even your own kindness, your own attention, your own forgiveness, is the only thing that truly enriches you? The deepest form of jealousy is often the resentment of another person's peace. We see their quiet confidence or their effortless calm and think, "Wish I had that inner stillness." But Hakuin's story teaches you, you already own the moon. You already have the capacity for stillness and compassion. This capacity is your unique and inexhaustible wellspring of worth. Tonight, as you lie here, fully supported, practice the gift of nothing. Give away the need to hold on to the burdens of comparison. Give away your judgments of the successful people you envy. Let them be free from your scrutiny. Give away your fear that you are not enough. Let that fear drift away like smoke. Give away the weight of the day's activities. Let it all be gone with the soft exhale of your breath. By giving nothing, you create a profound emptiness in your heart, an empty space that is vast and perfect, like Hakuin's window, where the moon can finally shine through, revealing your true, unadorned value. This value is not earned. It is simply there, waiting to be seen when the mind is empty of comparison. Breathe in the quiet strength of your own unshakable worth. Breathe out the last fragments of envy and striving. You are whole. You are full. You are resting in the inexhaustible abundance of the present moment. Let the moon of your own awareness guide you into the deepest, most peaceful sleep. Remember to subscribe to the Lotus Whisper channel for more stories to guide you into peaceful sleep. The Monk and the King's Jewel. We rest now in the profound clarity achieved by letting go. The mind is open, like Hakuin's window, and the gentle light of the moon, your inner awareness, shines clearly. Allow your breathing to become even slower, even deeper, releasing any final muscular tension in your legs and feet. Your journey is effortless now, a soft descent into peace. Tonight, we consider a story that powerfully reverses the gaze of jealousy, revealing that the true object of envy is often not material wealth, but inner wealth, the unshakable treasure of peace. This wisdom comes from the interaction between a powerful king and a simple monk. In the ancient kingdom of Magadha lived a mighty ruler whose palace was a dazzling showcase of the world's finest treasures. His vaults overflowed with gold, his gardens were magnificent, and his crown was adorned with the largest, most brilliant jewel in the known world. Yet the king was perpetually restless. His mind was a battlefield of political worries, desires, and the constant fear of losing what he possessed. Not far from the palace, in a quiet, rocky outcrop, lived the simple monk. He possessed nothing but his robes, his alms bowl, and his deep, sustained practice. His shelter was a humble cave, warmed only by the rising sun and cooled by the evening breeze. One afternoon, the king, disguised in simple clothes to escape the pressures of his court, was walking near the monastery lands. He saw the monk seated under a tree, his posture perfectly erect, his face radiating an extraordinary, unwavering calm. The monk looked utterly content. The king, in all his gilded splendor, was struck by a profound feeling of lack. It was a searing moment of pure, intense jealousy. He envied the monk, not for his lack of possessions, but for his unearned and unpurchasable peace. The king approached the monk and spoke with a voice heavy with confusion. "Venerable sir," the king began, "I do not understand. I own everything that can be owned. My jewel is the envy of all nations. Yet, I am in constant torment. You possess nothing. Your robe is patched. Your shelter is a rough cave. Yet your face holds a contentment that my entire treasury cannot buy. Tell me, what is your secret? What hidden jewel do you possess that makes you richer than I?" The monk slowly opened his eyes, which held the calm depth of a deep mountain spring. He looked at the king, not with judgment, but with great compassion. "My lord king," the monk replied, his voice a soft, resonant whisper. "You speak of your jewel. It is indeed magnificent. But is it not a source of your fear? Do you not hire guards to watch it?
Do you not worry that a rival king will steal it, or that your own sons will plot to take it from you?" The king frowned. "It is true. My greatest treasure is also my greatest burden. It is my anxiety. And the envy of others." The monk continued gently. "Does it not require you to constantly increase its size, its brilliance, its value, so that your worth remains higher than theirs? Your jewel is a measure, a comparison, a burden." The monk then placed his hands in his lap, palms facing upward in a gesture of simple openness. "My lord," he said, "I possess a jewel that requires no guards, cannot be stolen, and does not require comparison. It is the jewel of contentment, santosha." He explained that this jewel is found only when the mind is no longer clinging to the need for more, for better, for different. It is discovered when the mind stops the frantic, exhausting work of measuring its life against others. "When I sit," the monk explained, "I am simply sitting. The stillness of my mind is my palace. The quiet of my breath is my royal court. I do not compare my patched robe to your silk, because the value of this cloth is simply its capacity to keep me warm. I do not compare my cave to your gilded rooms, because the value of this cave is its capacity to offer me silent shelter for my practice." He looked directly at the king. "The worth of my life is not measured by the envy it provokes in others, nor the envy I feel for others. My worth is measured by the unshakable peace I find in the simple act of being. This inner wealth is what truly makes a man rich." The king was deeply moved. He realized that the monk's freedom, his ability to sit completely unbothered by external events, was the ultimate power. The monk had given away all the things that could be stolen, and in doing so, had secured the only thing that truly mattered. The jealousy that the king felt was the highest compliment to the monk's practice. It was the recognition that freedom from comparison and craving is the ultimate form of wealth. The monk's inner jewel was so bright that it outshone the king's material possessions. As you lie in the quiet safety of your own space, realize that you too have this jewel. It is the very capacity for stillness that you are cultivating right now. It is the deep, quiet knowledge that your inherent worth is not stored in an external vault that needs guarding. Your worth is the steady, unmoving center of your own being. It cannot be increased by success, nor diminished by failure. It is simply there. Let the king's jealousy be a lesson. Do not seek the treasures that others will envy and that you must constantly guard. Seek the wealth that is invisible, unstealable, and absolutely your own. Breathe in the simple, quiet confidence of the monk. Breathe out the heavy burdens of the king's fears. You are perfectly secure. You are rich in stillness. Rest now in the knowing that your own inner jewel is already shining brightly in the darkness. Remember to subscribe to the Lotus Whisper channel for more stories to guide you into peaceful sleep. The open hand of forgiveness. We move now into the practice of profound release. Your body is deeply settled, and your mind is receptive to the healing power of letting go. We recognize that jealousy often holds a twin, the subtle, tenacious grip of resentment. This resentment is not just aimed at the successful person, but often at the perceived unfairness of the universe itself, and even at ourselves for feeling such a difficult emotion. To truly dissolve jealousy, we must open the hand of forgiveness. Forgiveness, in the deepest sense of the teaching, is not an action we grant to others. It is a profound gift we grant to ourselves. It is the act of releasing the expectation that the past should have been different, that others should have acted differently, or that the present moment should be otherwise. When we forgive, we cut the rope that ties us to the moment of suffering. Jealousy binds us in two ways. First, we resent the person who seems to have effortlessly received the thing we crave. We hold on to the thought, they don't deserve it as much as I do, or their path was too easy. This tightens our heart against them. Second, we resent our own feelings. We judge ourselves harshly for the envy, adding a layer of shame to the original suffering. We think, a spiritual person shouldn't feel this way, or I am weak for comparing myself. This tightens our heart against ourselves. The practice of forgiveness is the ultimate solvent for this twofold contraction. There is a simple, powerful story from the early Zen tradition about a young monk who struggled with a deep, paralyzing jealousy toward his elder brother, who was praised far and wide for his artistic genius. The younger monk was diligent, but his art was clumsy and lacked the brilliant spark of his brother's work. The jealousy turned to deep resentment. The younger monk felt the world was rigged in his brother's favor, and that his own efforts were cursed. He could not look at his brother's paintings without his jaw clenching. He sought guidance from his master. He laid bare his painful heart, confessing his resentment and his feelings of inadequacy. The master listened in complete silence, gently peeling an orange. When the monk finished, the master offered him a section of the fruit. "Taste this, my son," the master said. The monk took the orange section. It was sweet, fragrant, and perfectly ripe. "The sweetness is exquisite, master," the monk said. "And now tell me," the master asked, "if you had held this piece of fruit in your hand for 3 days, squeezing it tightly, clenching your fist around it in resentment against the sun that ripened it, or against the hand that picked it, would the orange still be sweet?" The monk shook his head slowly. "No, master. It would be bruised, damaged, and the juices would have run out. The sweetness would be gone." "Precisely," the master said, placing his remaining orange sections back on the tray. "The resentment you hold against your brother's success, the jealousy you clench in your heart, it is not harming his success. His success is like the sun, and your resentment cannot touch it. But the resentment is entirely bruising the sweet fruit of your own life. It is spoiling your own essence and draining your own joy." The master then taught him the meaning of forgiveness. Forgiveness is simply the act of opening the hand. You are holding a pain that is only harming you. When you open your hand, you release the bruised fruit and allow the new sweetness of the present moment to enter. The monk realized he needed to forgive 2 things. Forgive the external circumstance. Forgive his brother for being so talented. Forgive the people for praising him. Release the expectation that life must be fair or equal. Accept the reality of his brother's gifts as simply a fact of the tapestry. Forgive the inner judgment. Forgive himself for having the feelings of jealousy and resentment. He realized that the feelings were just temporary weather patterns in his mind. By forgiving himself for the imperfection of his heart, he created space for genuine transformation. As you lie here, fully surrendered to the gravity of rest, gently examine your heart. Is there a small, hard knot of resentment related to comparison? Is there a subtle clinging to the idea that you or another person should be different? Now, Breathe deeply and imagine your hands slowly, deliberately opening. Release the tightness in your palms, your fingers, your jaw. With the next slow exhale, silently say to the person you envy, I release you from my judgment. I forgive the world for your success. I open my hand. With the next deep inhale, silently say to yourself, I forgive myself for the pain of comparison. I am released from the need to be perfect. I open my hand to my own worth. Forgiveness is the spaciousness that dissolves the need to compare. When the hand is open, the heart is open. And in the open heart, there is only vast, immeasurable peace. Rest now, freed from the chains of resentment and the burdens of self-judgment. Your release is complete. Remember to subscribe to the Lotus Whisper channel for more stories to guide you into peaceful sleep. The Path of 8 Petals, Right Livelihood and Self-Worth. We continue our peaceful descent, guided by the profound wisdom of release. Your mind is quiet and the heart is open, freed from the gripping hand of resentment. We turn now to the practical foundation of Buddhist life, the Noble Eightfold Path, and how one specific petal of that path, right livelihood, sama ajiva, is the anchor for genuine, non-comparative self-worth. The Noble Eightfold Path is a map for the end of suffering. It is not about reaching a specific external destination, but about perfecting the quality of your internal journey. Jealousy is a suffering that arises when we try to walk someone else's path. Right livelihood is the antidote, because it grounds your value in the integrity of your own unique contribution. Right livelihood is often translated as earning a living in a way that is ethical, harmless, and does not exploit others. But on a deeper, more personal level, it is about finding your worth in your work itself, regardless of the status or salary that comes with it. Jealousy tells you, your work is only valuable if it is highly praised, pays well, and is seen by many. You are only worthy if your job title matches or exceeds your neighbor's. This external measure makes your worth constantly dependent on the unstable market of comparison. Right livelihood asks a different question. Is your work an honest expression of your being? Does it cause no harm? Does it bring integrity to your day? When your work, whatever it is, whether you are a celebrated CEO, a quiet gardener, a meticulous cleaner, or a dedicated parent, is rooted in this ethical integrity, your value becomes internal and unassailable. Consider the simple rhythm of a stonecutter in the ancient times. This cutter might spend decades simply splitting heavy stones into flat, usable tiles. His work was physically grueling, often unnoticed, and financially modest. He might look with envy at the architect who designs the temple, the one whose name will be remembered, whose vision is grand and celebrated. The jealousy would arise from the comparison. The architect's work is high, my work is low. But the teaching of right livelihood asks the stonecutter to pause. It asks him to find the dignity in the perfect split of the stone, the rhythm of his hammer, the precise, clean edge of the finished tile. His master might gently remind him, "My son, the architect's design is brilliant, but it is merely a drawing on parchment. Your work is the foundation. Without your patient, honest labor, without the exact, durable tiles you lay, the magnificent temple cannot stand. The worth of your work is not in the fame of the design, but in the integrity of the foundation. The stonecutter's value is found not in the fleeting comparison with the architect, but in the enduring quality of the stone tile itself. The quality is a direct reflection of his patience focus, and honesty, virtues that belong only to Him. This is the essence of finding worth in your own path. Your worth is not the fruit that others see, the salary, the title, the fame. Your worth is the tree itself, the root system of ethical intention, the strength of honest effort, and the growth of skill that is unique to you. The moment you cease to measure your profession by its external luster and begin to measure it by its internal integrity, jealousy loses its power. You can look at the architect's beautiful building, mudita, and then return with deep contentment to the perfect cut of your own stone. Self-worth. This applies to every aspect of your life, even your rest. Right livelihood extends to right effort, the effort to be present and ethical in everything, including the effort to rest when rest is needed. If you are a parent, your right livelihood is found not in comparing your child's achievements to another's, but in the integrity of your love, your patience, and your presence. If you are a student, your right livelihood is found not in comparing your grades, but in the integrity of your effort and the purity of your desire to learn. As you lie here, fully preparing for sleep, bring to mind the quiet integrity of your own life. What are the small daily tasks you perform with honesty and intention? What are the quiet virtues that guide your interactions? These are the unsung, enduring sources of your worth. They are internal. They are unstealable. They are entirely unique to the thread you are weaving. Breathe in the deep, grounding confidence of this quiet integrity. Breathe out the need for external validation or comparative success. Your foundation is solid. Your work is righteous. Your self-worth is complete. Rest now in the knowledge that you are firmly rooted in your own true path. Remember to subscribe to the Lotus Whisper channel for more stories to guide you into peaceful sleep. Part 13. The Stillness of the Lake. Seeing the true reflection. We sink now into the deepest layer of stillness, the practice that unites all the previous teachings. Mindfulness, or sati. Your body is a vessel of quietude. Your breath is slow and soft, and the noise of comparison is a distant murmur. We use the powerful metaphor of the lake to understand how to see your true, unwavering worth. Imagine your mind is a vast, ancient mountain lake. The inherent true nature of the lake is perfect stillness. When it is perfectly still, its surface acts as a flawless mirror, reflecting the exact truth of the sky above and the mountains around it. It reflects the sun, the stars, the clouds, and the trees with total, unquestioning accuracy. This reflection is the truth of your inherent worth, complete, profound, and undeniable. But the lake is often disturbed. The winds of craving, tanha, and aversion blow across the surface, creating ripples. The largest, most persistent ripple is caused by the wind of comparison and jealousy. When the surface is rippled by comparison, what happens to the reflection? It becomes distorted. The reflection of the sun shatters into 1,000 trembling shards of light. The reflection of the stable mountain becomes wobbly and uncertain. The sky, which is vast and clear, appears chaotic and broken. This is exactly what happens when jealousy moves the mind. The truth of your own worth, which is as vast and unchanging as the mountain itself, is not actually changed, but the reflection of it is utterly broken and obscured. Jealousy does not diminish your value. It simply prevents you from seeing your value. It makes you feel broken, uncertain, and fragmented because the surface of your awareness is disturbed. The goal of mindfulness practice is not to fight the wind of comparison. Thoughts like, I should be better, or they are luckier, will inevitably arise. The goal is to simply stop feeding the wind and to cultivate the profound stillness that allows the ripples to subside. A story is told of a young Zen student named Satori, who was deeply troubled by his meditation. He was perpetually comparing his own practice to the seemingly deep, quiet concentration of the older students. He felt like a failure because his mind was always turbulent, full of thoughts of inadequacy. He went to his master, seeking a technique to forcibly quiet his mind. "Master," Satori pleaded, "the minds of the others are like still pools. Mine is a stormy sea. How can I force the waters to be still?" The master was standing near a small, still well, dropping a small stone into the water. Plop! The water immediately became a network of concentric rings, disrupting the clear reflection of the sky. "Satori," the master said, without looking at the student, "did you see me force the water to be still?" "No, master, you disturbed it with the stone." The master waited for a minute, and the ripples began to subside on their own. The rings grew weaker, larger, and finally dissolved back into a perfect, glassy surface. "The water does not need you to force it back to stillness," the master whispered. "Stillness is its true, inherent nature. The water merely requires that you stop dropping stones into it and wait for the natural law of gravity to reassert itself." The master explained, "The stone you keep dropping into the lake of your mind is the thought of comparison. Every time you think, 'My meditation is not as good as theirs,' or 'I am not as peaceful as them,' you are dropping a stone. Stop dropping the stone. Stop comparing your turbulence to their seeming calm. The moment you cease the act of comparison, you are not creating stillness. You are simply allowing the mind to return to its true natural state. The ripples of jealousy are born of effort and striving. The reflection of your true worth is born of effortless rest. As you lie here now, let this be your quiet practice. Your body is still. Your breath is soft. Your mind is like the lake. If a thought of comparison arises, a ripple of inadequacy, do not fight it. Simply notice it. Ripple, thought of comparison, and then gently, firmly, refuse to drop the next stone. Refuse to engage the thought. Refuse to follow the comparison. Just wait. Allow the fundamental stillness, the inherent peace that is the nature of your mind, to reassert itself. Feel the deep, cool truth of the stillness. You do not have to earn this peace. You just have to stop disturbing it. The reflection of your profound worth is returning. It is clear, it is whole, and it is perfectly resting. Sink into that clear reflection now. Rest in the knowledge that your true value is perfect, always waiting for the stillness to reveal it. Remember to subscribe to the Lotus Whisper channel for more stories to guide you into peaceful sleep. Part 14. The Unfolding Lotus, Embracing Your Timeline. The still waters of the lake reflect the deep peace that is your true nature. We hold this tranquility as we move into a final, powerful image of acceptance and growth. The metaphor of the unfolding lotus. Your body is now fully relaxed, floating toward the soft edge of sleep. Jealousy is often rooted in the frantic need for a speedy outcome. It looks at the achieved, blooming state of another person and demands, "Why am I not there yet? I am behind. My time is running out." This obsession with the timeline causes intense suffering, which is the complete opposite of the gentle patience required for deep spiritual growth. The Buddha's teachings use the lotus flower as the perfect symbol for spiritual realization. The lotus begins as a seed buried deep in the mud at the bottom of a murky pond. It must grow through the darkest, thickest water before it can finally emerge, break the surface, and blossom into perfect beauty, untouched by the dirt from which it arose. The profound truth here is this: every lotus unfolds at its own perfect time. Imagine a pond filled with lotus plants. Some seeds were planted earlier, some received more sunlight, some had less mud to push through. If a bud that is still submerged deep in the darkness were to compare itself to the fully open, radiant flower floating on the surface, it would be devastated. The submerged bud would think, "I am a failure. I am covered in muck. I have not yet arrived. I must struggle harder, push faster." But the master gardener, the one who understands the Dharma, simply looks at the submerged bud and knows. It is exactly where it needs to be. Its time of deep water growth is essential. It is not behind. It is simply in its own necessary stage of development. If you forcibly pull the bud to the surface before it is ready, it will break and never bloom. The success, the enlightenment, the unique brilliance of the person you envy is simply their full bloom. It is the stage they have reached in their own singular timeline. Your life, your practice, your particular challenges, the mud you are currently navigating are what you need right now to develop the unique strength required for your bloom. Jealousy is a denial of your own essential process. It is a refusal to trust the wisdom of your own timeline. We often forget that the deepest roots are formed in the darkest places. Your struggle with comparison, your period of quiet, uncelebrated effort, your time of feeling lost. This is the essential deep water growth that is giving you the resilience to hold the final, massive flower of your own worth. A Zen master, when asked why one disciple achieved deep insight quickly while another struggled for decades, simply pointed to two different plants in the courtyard, a bamboo shoot and an oak tree. The bamboo, the master observed, shoots up quickly, reaching its full height in a single season. It is light, flexible, and fast. The oak, he continued, spends decades putting its root system down, deep and wide, hardly showing any height for years. It is slow, heavy, and patient. He then asked the student, which tree has more value when the great typhoon comes? The student knew the answer. The mighty oak, which took its time and focused on the hidden, deep work, would stand firm. The rapidly grown bamboo would bend or snap. The lesson is patience and trust. If you are the slow-growing oak, do not be jealous of the fast-rising bamboo. Your unseen, difficult growth is your greatest strength. The world needs the quick beauty of the bamboo, but it also desperately needs the unshakable permanence of the oak. You are not competing for space or resources in the universe. The universe is vast enough for every single timeline, every style of growth, every magnificent bloom. Tonight, grant yourself the perfect, compassionate acceptance of your present stage. You are not behind. You are not less than. You are exactly where the forces of your past actions and your present intentions have placed you. This is your essential, powerful groundwork. Let go of the imaginary finish line dictated by social media, by ambition, or by the perceived success of others. Your finish line is unique to you, and you are reaching it exactly on time. Breathe in the deep, ancient patience of the oak tree. Breathe out the anxiety of the rushed timeline. Trust the mud. Trust the water. Trust the quiet, inner force that is relentlessly guiding you upward. Sleep now, knowing that your perfect bloom will come in its own perfect, unhurried time. Remember to subscribe to the Lotus Whisper channel for more stories to guide you into peaceful sleep. the great kindness, the realization of wholeness. We have reached the final stage of our journey tonight. The oak stands firm, the lotus rests on the surface, and the lake is still. Your body is heavy with peaceful rest, and your mind is clear, having released the heavy burdens of comparison and the struggle for a different timeline. We conclude by realizing that letting go of jealousy naturally brings us to the highest, most healing virtue, the great kindness, or metta. Metta is unconditional, boundless, loving kindness. It is the simple, honest wish for the happiness and well-being of all beings, without exception, including yourself. Jealousy is the ultimate form of separation. It says, "You and I are fundamentally separate, and your gain is my loss." This thought is built on the fear that you are incomplete. Metta is the realization of wholeness. It says, "You and I are connected. Your happiness reflects the possibility of my own happiness, and my worth is inherent, requiring nothing from the outside." When you see your own worth clearly, the unstealable jewel from part 10, the perfect thread from part 6, you no longer need to measure, compete, or envy. When your own inner cup is full, you look at the overflowing cup of another with simple, genuine joy, without any desire to take from it. The final teaching on overcoming jealousy is simply the recognition that you are already complete. Imagine a large, ancient well in the center of a village. This well draws from an endless underground spring. The water level never changes, regardless of how many buckets are drawn from it. This well is your inherent worth, your deep, quiet capacity for goodness, peace, and acceptance. Jealousy is the mistaken belief that your well is shallow, and that every time a neighbor draws water, your supply diminishes. It creates the frantic need to rush to the well, to guard it, and to resent anyone who seems to have a fuller bucket. But the practice of metta is the simple, profound realization. The spring is infinite. You can never run out. Your neighbor's bucket can be overflowing, and your own well will remain eternally full, drawing from the same boundless source. The moment you realize your own inexhaustible depth, you are liberated. You no longer need to check the level of your water against another's. You are free to simply be the well. This realization transforms the energy of comparison into the energy of connection. When you look at the person who once triggered your envy, the one with the quick mind, the abundant success, the beautiful family, you no longer see a threat. You see another expression of the infinite spring. You see a fellow being, also on a difficult, beautiful, and impermanent path. The jealousy turns into compassion, karuna, because you understand their struggle, and it turns into joy, mudita, because you celebrate their temporary brightness. There is a final tender image from the Buddhist texts, the image of the mother who is willing to give her life to protect her only child. This is the profound, fierce, and unwavering quality of metta. Tonight, let this boundless kindness turn inward first. Be the fiercely loving mother to your own heart. May I be safe. May I be peaceful. May I be free from the pain of comparison. May I see my own complete and absolute worth.
Feel this intention settle deep into your chest, a warm, soft light expanding outward. This is your unassailable treasure. Now, gently extend that light to the person you once envied. See them clearly and wish them well. May they be safe. May they be peaceful. May they be free from suffering. May they enjoy the wealth and success they have achieved. In this act of pure, unconditional giving of goodwill, you realize the ultimate truth. When you genuinely wish for the happiness of the other, you are not subtracting from your own. You are simply confirming the wholeness and inexhaustible nature of the great kindness that is the ground of your being. You have no need to compare, for you are already full. You are not behind, for your timeline is perfect. You are not lacking, for your inherent worth is infinite. Let go now. Let the deep, profound truth of your own completeness guide you into the softest, most restorative sleep. You are whole. You are enough. You are resting in the great kindness. Sleep now. Remember to subscribe to the Lotus Whisper channel for more stories to guide you into peaceful sleep.